This is Colin Hendra from Witch Hazel, and you are listening to the Wildman and Steve Show.
You are about to listen to the intersection of faith, talk, and music. The Wildman and Steve Show starts right now.
So, Steve, I want to welcome you once again to our show. We talked before about that. We were going to just change the name, making it our show, because it's nobody else's show. It's our show.
And you know, I like being welcomed to our show. It feels good. Thank you.
It does. Yeah. I mean, it gives you a sense of ownership, gives you a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of what middle-aged guys like to do to keep from going through a crisis.
You got that right, baby.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, this is the time of the show where I turn it over to Steve, Mr. Segway, the Latin teacher, rock and metal enthusiast, whom Brian Duncan said is quite the incongruity. Mr. Segway always has something up his sleeve and to introduce these amazing guests we have on the show. And by the way, we have an amazing guest on the show tonight. So, Steve, take it away, Mr. Segway.
You know, it's interesting. You were talking about middle-aged men staying out of trouble, and for me, and I think for you, and I'm sure for a lot of our listeners, it is really just hard driving rock. I mean, I want rock that is so just it's like a Gale Force wind. You know what I'm saying? It's like just boom. It's just like Gale Force winds just streaming out of the speaker, just blowing my non-existent hair back. That's what I'm looking for.
Non-existent hair, right? Non-existent hair.
Baby, I used to have it, and it's long gone.
Well, you know, it's amazing. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it is so amazing how Mr. Segway comes up with these, because would you believe, Steve, believe it or not, we have the lead singer frontman of the new band, Gale Force, with us tonight.
No, are you serious?
Yes, I am serious.
That's amazing.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome to the show Michael Drive. Michael, how are you doing? And welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, it is an honor to have you, sir. And I, for one, have been a fan of yours for a very long time, pretty much from the beginning, going all the way back to Rock for the King, going back to that, and was able to see you in concert. And so when I heard you had a new band coming out, I was very excited about it. So we're going to be getting into your new work and what you're doing. And just wanted to, we usually start off just by asking, our listeners are always interested in, what was it that got you started in music and singing in the first place?
Well, you know, I was very moved by the British progressive rock band era in the 70s, actually. Well, of course, I was still very young in the 70s, but I liked the music of the 70s, and especially the progressive rock bands, which really defined my influences later on. For me, there were bands like King Crimson and Yes, early Genesis, UK, ELP, and a few non-British progressive rock bands like Rush and Kansas. And those kind of bands really set a fire under me and ignited something that began very early on.
Wow, that's great.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go. You already started it off. You talked prog rock. And one of our fans, one of our good friends, actually a couple of our very good friends, Mark Middleberg and Paul Berdakis are huge prog rock fans, especially Kansas. I know those guys are just crazy for Kansas. Talk to us, actually talk for our listeners who may not understand what that term means. What does prog rock mean to you, both from that 70s era and even what does that mean today?
Well, I would say progressive rock, as it was performed by a lot of those bands that I mentioned in the 70s, was probably very much a departure from, if you will, radio-friendly 3-minute, 30-second songs that had verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out kind of thing. And, it had odd time signatures that sometimes would change in the course of the song, throughout the course of the song. There really was no set kind of standard with the music, and it was pretty much kind of like a story, a musical story, if you will, from song to song. And I especially really liked that song, the changes, and how one song that I wrote, which appeared on the Barren Cross State of Control album, which really was brought the influence back from those early days, was 2,000 Years. Has all those different sections in that song, and that really was my Kansas influences coming out in the songs. If you listen to some of Kansas, I mean, they have some commercial stuff too, like Dust in the Wind and Carry On My Wayward Son and this and that. But they really had some other stuff that was really out there. And so I would say that's a good definition of progressive rock. It's just a departure of the standard.
Well, this one friend that I mentioned, Mark Middleberg, he's joked before that heavy metal fans, when they grow up, become prog rock fans. And you think about there's certainly a connection, and you think about some of those bands that you named. I would throw in Deep Purple as well from that era. From my perspective, I think as a listener, and I'm curious what your perspective is as a musician, it feels to me that there's a lot more creativity and really a lot more musicality in some of that sort of material. And really it requires a lot more from the musicians and the artists. Am I correct in that?
Well, yeah, it's not everybody can do that kind of thing. It is complicated. There are moments in the songs from those groups that have beautiful melodies and they're simplistic sections, and then 5 minutes or a minute later it goes into something very complicated. And so that's just the way it is. And so you got to be a really good musician, I think, to perform that kind of thing. And so I'm glad that I was into that. It really it honed me as a musician, I believe.
Michael, I remember way back when, and listening to Barren Cross, and in comparison to everybody else I was listening to, I just remember how it just stuck out. And what really stuck out in my mind was the uniqueness of your vocals. Your vocals are great, tremendous vocals with great versatility. You can do a ballad, you can do something close to speed metal. But in saying that, with the uniqueness, it kind of stands out. Was there anybody that was kind of your idol you were trying to sing with when you were growing up or when you got into music, or did you just develop your own sound and just go with it on your own?
Well, some people would say, and I did get this a lot, that I sound a bit, or did back then, a bit like Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. But I think that's mainly because of the tonality of my voice is approximately the same as his. When I sing in the upper registers, I tend to have a little bit of sometimes the same tonality there. Although that's not so much more the case today. I think that I've really gotten much more into my own vocal sound, and I'm much less like Bruce Dickinson today. And so, but more to answer your question is I think the music in general was what was really what was directing me, as well as my faith in God too.
You know, when I listen to the Gale Force album, you know, it's inspiring in the sense of just hearing your passion as you sing. You can tell you have a passion for the song and the songs that you're singing and the album and you behind it and doing the writing of the songs. What was it that, I mean, we have a whole thing to get in here about how Gale Force started and everything. But just before we get specifically to the band members, which we will get there, what was it that caused you to think that, you know, now's the time for an album like this?
That's a good question. I have I've been working hard on engineering an album for some years now with another recording artist. I'm not at liberty to say who that is, but that's been a very important thing that I've been doing. But it's just kind of something that God said, okay, now, you know, do it. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. I try to let God lead me as much as possible. And, you know, I've surrendered myself completely over to him anyway. And so I'm really grateful for what God allows. But, yeah, it just was the right time. It's really hard to explain. It's just the time, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I've got to ask the question to a vocalist, and I love asking this question. I mean, as a kid, I grew up singing in choirs and so forth. And as a teacher, I'm always using so I'm curious, how have you maintained your voice? And you talked about how it's changed somewhat over time and kind of coming into your own sense and space of that now, but how have you maintained it over the years of recording and touring and using it really in a way that obviously most people do not? How have you maintained it and kept it strong and healthy?
Well, for one thing, I don't destroy it with cocaine. I don't, you know, snort or shoot or, you know, smoke a bunch of junk and get wasted and, you know, drink a lot. I don't do all of that stuff because it just messes you up. Anything you want to do in life that's quality, if you want it to be quality, drugs is not a part of it. And so, and plus it destroys people's lives anyway. So I don't do that. I try to get a lot of sleep, eat right. I eat a lot of organic foods. I drink a lot of water. That's very important. If you're a singer, you drink a lot of water, and you know, you try to live in the right way. You get plenty of sleep, you eat right, you drink a lot of water, you don't do drugs, etc., etc. And then of course, it's God who gave me the vocal cords that I have, and so I'm really grateful to him that he's allowed me to sing better now than ever before, even so.
So Gale Force, tell us how this project happened, how it began, how the members joined, how you guys met. You know, it's always I'm always curious about this at times, because, you know, sometimes in a fan's mind, they put things together and they just kind of put things together that maybe aren't the case. You know, and there's been some times where I've like, well, they just met when they knew each other growing up, you know, something like that. So give us a little background of Gale Force.
Well, I've had an internet presence, and Paul Alfrey, the rhythm guitar player, contacted me, and he was already putting songs together with Tracy G who's the guitar player from Dio. And they were already also with Randy Oviedo, our bass player. And so they contacted me and asked me if I would be interested. I listened to some of their songs, and I was right away taken emotionally by them. I really enjoyed what I heard. The very first song that I heard from them was what ended up being Crash and Burn. And I thought, wow, this is really cool, you know. So I was right away inspired to compose the melody lines and the lyrics to my vocals. And then I recorded all those in my studio, brought the song back to them. They loved it. They thought it was great. And so we then decided to have a meeting, and we met at a restaurant here in Los Angeles, and talked about everything, and officially formed as a band. And actually, Crash and Burn, we had already recorded it, and it was done. It was the first song that was already done before we were even a band officially. So, that's a bit it.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it took us about, I would say, about a year and a half later. We did song by song by song, and you know, not cutting any corners, just really you know, taking every specific song and saying, okay, what's the best thing for that song? And just really doing it like that. And so when we were finished with that song, we would move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. And so it took us about a year and a half, and we have an album that we're really proud of. So
now, are you guys all based in LA?
Yes, we are.
Cool. You know, you mentioned just kind of connecting with Dio. And I think about, you know, what an incredible vocal Ronnie James Dio had. Everybody has just loved that sound. So obviously you got guys coming together from kind of some different backgrounds and so forth. How do you explain that meshing of artists coming from different bands, different sounds and so forth, and then you guys sitting around the table and going, wow, this really works. This is really good. You know, you've referenced your faith in God. Is that what you think this is? It's bringing all this together, that it's divinely inspired?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it for me. As I told you earlier, I totally have surrendered who I am to God, and so I let Him control. I let Him take care of it. You know, I've made enough bad decisions in my life to know that I don't run the show very well when I do everything my own way. So I'd rather do it God's way, and it always works out the best way it's supposed to be. That doesn't mean life is going to be a bowl of cherries, but I'm you know, that does mean that I get to have a lot of peace and a lot of joy and really fulfillment in what God brings along. So, and here He really you know, gave me some powerful musicians. Paul Alfrey is very talented at producing and rhythm guitar playing, and is a great guy. And Randy Oviedo, great bass player, great sound, and super cool guy. Tracy G is just a monster at his guitar playing. He's he's unique. He's very different from other guitarists. And none of these guys have a big head, and that's what I liked also. You know, I big heads, you can leave those at the back door. You know, we all know who we are. We're professional, and we know what we can do. But you got to realize where your talent comes from, and so that's it.
Yeah. You know, that's a great attribute to be motivated by. You know, humility does go a long way, and it's always amazing to me when people who are tremendous talents have such a humble spirit about them, and that's one thing that is encouraging to hear as you say that. The whole big head thing. There's a lot of that we run into, and it does rub all of us the wrong way, I think, in many ways.
Dystopia, do you know you're sinking deeper down from up? Don't you fear dystopia? All is fine, don't seek a higher way, stay with us. Welcome to my world, we've got lots of ways to destruct you. Come and see, sex, drugs, rock and roll is all you need. Plenty time, sleep on, fade. Never mind the cliff ahead, and the coming pain. Yeah, baby, worship insane.
So I'd like to. One of the questions we always ask our the artists that we interview, especially during this time of COVID, where things are different for musicians. But I want to ask that, but I also want to ask in general, what is it like being an artist today versus back when you started in the 80s? What are some of the challenges? I know COVID's a challenge, but recording wise, everything wise, what are some of the challenges that you're running into?
Not to get too upset at the tyranny. I don't know, man. It's how can I explain this? You're desperately wanting to hold on to your freedom. We're in this country because we are free. Everybody who comes to this country has generally, if they've come from somewhere else, they've generally escaped really something that wasn't as good as what they found in this country that's been so blessed by God, because we have been, our principles by our founding fathers have been founded on God, and so we were blessed for so long. Well, this country has been taking a kind of a 180 degree turn away from God, and so when that happens, the country generally goes downhill from there. But a lot of things have changed since then, but they've been progressing really. But this year is a little bit different. Sometimes when God allows a major travesty to happen, such as the whole COVID thing, and it really messes up a lot of people's lives, they in turn start to get on their knees more, and they realize, I'm but dust and ashes. Where's my life going? What's going to happen? I better get right with God, and do it quick. And so it's been kind of forcing people to reevaluate who actually runs the show. God's in control of everything, but it's been difficult. Yeah, the whole COVID thing has been quite difficult for people to manage. The suicide rate has been climbing up like crazy, and I'm trying to provide actually solutions to that kind of stuff in my lyrics. I've always wanted to do that anyway, because people do face things, and they have issues in life, and I love them. I honestly do love them. I love the fans, and I really want to see them succeed in whatever they're good at. Just not to break the subject too much, but all given a talent by God. And so it's something to appreciate and something to fulfill. So, everybody has to search inside of themselves to find out what that is that they're really good at, and go for it and do a great job. So despite everything that's going on now, which is quite different from the 80s or back then or whatever, you just got to make the best of it, put God first, and pray for the best.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about the lyrics, because I've noticed it clearly in the Gale Force album, listening to it, about it attacking issues and struggles and challenges that people face, and trying to get people to overcome that. And it was reminiscent of the Barren Cross days of dealing. Barren Cross would always deal with the social issues of the day, racism, abortion, all the different things that were happening. Do you, as a writer, is it something that the best way to ask this is, do you kind of look at the headlines and see, well, what's the greatest need, and let me write a song to fill that void? Or is it more your passion is you're just kind of led there organically?
Yeah, the latter, I believe, is really what happens. I tend to pray. I ask God, what should I write about? I really do have that kind of relationship with him. And one song that I ended up writing for this last album is called Never Say Goodnight. And what I was just talking about people ending their lives because they don't have any hope. Because, there's always a reason to get back up on your feet, always. Soldiers, they know that it's not easy fighting in a war, but they understand that to remain alive, you don't give up. There's always a reason to get back up on your feet, as I said. And even when you think that you feel crushed in this world, I have suffered some hard times in my life, and I don't look for solutions down here. I look higher, and that's where the power is. Whenever the past tries to infringe itself upon my present, I realize that I'm being lied to, and I don't let it change my future. No matter what, I never say goodnight, and that's what the song's about.
Like giving up is all it seems you can do. You toast another drink to the emptiness inside. What's left of you? And so you board your plane for a quiet flight into that lonely good night where one should never go. Bleed, pain, blight, never say goodnight. Seethe, angst, plight, never say goodnight. Don't burn, fight, never say goodnight. Bind your hopelessness.
Well, I just see a need. I don't know how to put it any better, but I see a need in this world, and I feel led to address it. That's the way it is with a lot of my lyrics. And so, not everything is about a social issue. I write about love. Red Line is a simple love song.
Yeah.
And actually, it's more like a tragedy, kind of like Romeo and Juliet, but it's a love song. So it really depends from song to song.
There she was and never late. Should have known by now. Some good things were bound to have an end. Oh, my friend, woe is me. Should have known by now that I would miss a beat I should know it's more than real. What I should have done by now, should have told you how I feel every night. No one asked why, but rarely would we gaze away, 'cause love had gripped us both beyond the...
I want to shift gears and talk the product of music.
Yeah.
CDs, vinyl, digital downloads, right? We've got all the different ways to access music these days. What do you want to see most as an artist in terms of getting your music out? Do you even care? Or do you say, you know what, I really want people to buy it on vinyl because that's where we're going to get the best sound? Or, hey, you know what, digital download is fine because more people are going to get it that way. Well, what's your preferred way of getting the music out to the people?
Kind of nice when people want to buy the physical product, whether it's a CD or, you know, the T-shirts. I've got, you know, T-shirts like this, and you know, it's kind of nice. It's something you can hold on to. It's something you can touch, you know, and just nothing like that when you pull out a CD booklet and you can see the photographs and the lyrics and all of that stuff. It's just nice. It's more intimate, more romantic, really, than you know, today. Everything seems to go virtual, and it's just less. It's got less personality to it, really, I think. But I mean, you know, that's okay. It really depends on what the person's needs are. It's not to say it's bad that people like a digital format, but really, it really depends on what everybody what they prefer. But I like the thing you can touch, you know. So I really like the CDs. Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I would recommend everyone who's listening right now to go to galeforceband.com and purchase the item, the music, or the T-shirts, whatever you might want to buy directly from the artist in support of them. Because that's what we need today, I believe, is to support the artist and the endeavors of what they're doing. So having said that, Michael, you have the album of Gale Force. I'm curious of what you think. What are some of the plans here in the future? I know we already talked. COVID affects a lot of things, touring wise and concerts. Are you thinking of a tour at some point? And not just with Gale Force, but Michael Drive's solo stuff. You know, nowadays I know artists are doing 2 or 3 things at a time. So tell us what your plans are here in the next year.
Well, yeah, that all depends on what the powers that be allow us musicians to do. Right now, they've got a noose around our neck, and makes it very difficult to go out and tour. Because already they've stricken fear into the hearts of millions of people all across the world. I've heard of bands doing shows and only getting a fraction of the amount of people that they normally get, because people are scared out of their minds that they're going to die as soon as they get together with another group of people. You know, And so they don't bother to tell you the numbers. They just make you think you're going to die. And so that's a bummer. But I don't know. I really don't know. I will try to be present as much as possible with the way that I'm allowed to. Right now it's virtually. And I mean, this is also a really nice way of talking to people. And so that's great. But we'll see. I really enjoy touring. I really enjoy playing concerts, being on the stage, interacting with people, throwing myself into the crowd, doing this all the way down the stage, running from one end down to the other, and slapping everybody's hands. And I just love that kind of stuff. And so it's a relationship with the people that I really like. And so as soon as I'm able to get back on stage, great.
GaleForceBand.com. How else can folks follow you, connect with you on social media or any other ways?
Just right on the band page of our website, GaleForceBand.com. There's a tab called Band, actually, and right at the bottom of that, you'll find all the social media links and everything. Oh, by the way, speaking of things you can touch, let me show you a little gem that I still have. See this?
Yes.
Oh.
I bought this brand new in actually this was about 36 years ago that I bought this.
Yes.
And it's my Flying V. It's actually on the back cover of Rock for the King. This very guitar.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of, what's that?
I was going to say, for our folks who are listening only and only getting audio, tell them what we're looking at.
Oh, okay. This is a Flying V. It's a Takamine Flying V acoustic guitar. It's actually acoustic electric. I wish you guys could have video and see this because it's pretty cool. There are not very many of them. When I bought this, I was very impressed by the sound of it and by the tonality, the intonation. It stayed in tune. It's a really good guitar. I've really banged it up quite a bit, and see that I've got to get it fixed. Any Luthers out there that want to fix my guitar? I need to find a Luther. Anyway, so that's that. But anyway, yeah, that's that. I've got this is my latest. It's a Yamaha.
Oh wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Kind of a see-through kind of deal. But it really sounds great through a PA system. I mean, this puppy rocks. And so this is my latest, and I really like it too. Of course, you got my Taylor right there. Not much to say about Taylor. They're great. That's a fantastic company. So I always really like this one too.
Yeah.
a shady destiny. I got a mirror, it lies to me so much. Whenever I ask how things are going on, but I know the answers deep inside of me. It isn't the way I know that I should be. Where will I go after all the shows have been played? Where will I fly after my demise have been made? What am I doing? God Almighty knows. Sooner or later, all of it will show. I got questions. What if I repent? 'Cause I really don't want to miss the main event.
I remember seeing you play the Flying V in concert. I remember seeing that. It's amazing that instruments like that with that quality can last such a long time. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a great guitar. I got people that want to trade it for a Gibson Flying V. Actually, George Ochoa, he wants me to trade that to him for a Gibson Flying V, and I want a Gibson Flying V. I don't have one, and so but I said no way. I'm not going to trade this one. This is my pride and joy. I really like this guitar. So.
Yeah, well, that's great. It's great to have you on. I appreciate all that you have done and are doing. And we're honored that you took the time to be with us tonight. And
thank you.
We are looking forward to more from you in the future. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have not heard Gale Force yet, you will not be disappointed. GaleForceBand.com. Go there. You will love the music. It is power. It is metal. It is just tremendous. And as he says, and the website even says, bringing back the rock that we all enjoy and love, which is what Wildman and Steve show is all about. So thank you very much.
The return to real rock, right?
Yeah, return to real rock. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
It was a great time interviewing Michael Drive. He has a long-standing career as a vocalist with Barren Cross, as a solo artist, and now with his new band Gale Force. I love the sound and appreciate how he is letting God lead in all he does, which all of us should do the same. Thank you for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review at wildmanandsteve.com. There you will also be able to find out more about all the projects we have going. We will see you next time.